In this video, we unbox the MOZA R5 wheel and we test out the quick function release and get a little bit winded. Hello everyone and welcome to the wheel review. It's finally here, the MOZA R5 wheel review. This wheel right here, we are going to be looking at this wheel, looking at the positives, the negatives and everything in between. So hopefully I can give you some good information and information whether you want to buy this wheel or not. Now, I've been giving my feedback over the use of over 4 weeks now. I've been using it. 6 weeks or something like that. I've been using it. I always give it 4 weeks to really see if there's any problems with the wheel, if any reliability issues come up, or anything like that. So just to let you know that MOZA did send me this wheel. They emailed me and said, do you want to review this wheel for ACC? I was like, yeah, sure, let's go for it. I had checked whether I could use it on the PlayStation. I realized I could get an adapter and use it on the PlayStation. So I've been using it across PlayStation and the PC version of Assetto Corsa Competizione to really get a good feel for the wheel. Now, yes, they sent it me. It doesn't change my opinion. I have done wheel reviews in the past where people have sent me wheel reviews and they've had a lot of negative feedback from it, etc, etc. You know me, it's my honest opinions. By law, I have to give my honest opinion, and you know I will give my honest opinion. This isn't my full-time job, therefore I'm not reliant on cash or whatever it might be from a company or whatever. They haven't given me anything, by the way, other than the wheel. So yeah, please do not worry about that. They've sent it me. I'm reviewing it right now, and I'm going to give you my honest feedback. You check out all the other wheel reviews in the playlist in the description, of course. And again, I do need to officially say this. It isn't officially supported on the PlayStation. However, you can use it on the PlayStation, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. First up, though, what is actually in the box that you do get with the MOZA R5 Wheelbase bundle? So here we have the actual box then, and we do need to get into this box. So let's open it up like so. Apologies for any mess you see in the kitchen. And this box presented well. Everything is stored perfectly nice, just as you expect, really, if you're spending this sort of money on any form of item. As you see, some of the mess in the background there. So you can straight away see that we've got the instruction manual, some stickers, because we all love some stickers. But there is the wheelbase then, and let's jump to that now. So lots of buttons on this wheelbase, and you can see that there. Feels good quality, to be fair. Does feel like good quality. And of course, as we jump to the back of it, you can see how it connects to the wheelbase. And the paddle shifters, they feel very nice as well in terms of quality. Not plasticky in any way, and they have a really good click on them as well. Let's talk about the wheelbase. Wheelbase, a very small form factor. One thing that I was quite surprised about, very easy to lift in terms of one-handed. There's a bit of weight to it, of course, being a direct drive wheel, but there is still, it's small and easily liftable. We jump to the pedals then, and as you can see here, we get 2 pedals in terms of that. These are the SR-P light pedals. Again, very nice quality in terms of the metal used. And you see the holes on the top there. It does mean you can adjust them in any way. So, of course, you can add a clutch pedal, move that to the middle, and then, yeah, you've essentially got your 3 pedals. But, of course, I'm just using 2 in this situation. And they do have some cable connection instructions there for when you do switch from 2 pedals to 3 pedals. Or if you do it, just say, rather than when you do it. Of course, that's not all that you get with this wheel. We do have the accessories as well that you can see here. So obviously we saw the instruction manual earlier. We've got the plugs there, another piece of Ethernet cable there. That's for an extra cable because it does use Ethernet in terms of passing it across each other. You can see the USB cable there. And then we've got the wheel clamp. I'm going to talk about that more shortly in regards to that. There's the instruction manual and there is the power brick. And that's everything in the box. Right, let's get into the pros then of the R5 wheelbase bundle. And first up, and probably the best part of this wheel is not the wheel itself, actually. It's the pedals. Now, I've been amazed, stunned by these pedals. They feel absolutely amazing. Every single time you come into the stream and said, how is the wheelage? How is the wheelage? What's the first thing I've always said? That's right, the pedals. The pedals are unbelievable. I would argue at this price point, they are class leading. Class leading by a country mile. Now, they use a Hall sensor, which is very good, to be fair. I've had no issues with it in terms of braking and accelerating. It measures it perfectly. When I originally got the pedals, the brake was stuck at 80% on PC for ACC. Not sure why, but all I had to do was go into the software and change that, and then it fixed itself absolutely fine. So you could argue that's a little bit of a downturn, but in general, the pedals, using the pedals consistently over the past 4, 5, 6 weeks, they've been spot on. Not one single problem at all with the pedals. They've worked every single time without fail. They feel good. They are made of top quality. They're easily adjustable for the most part. I'll get onto that in a second. And yeah, it's just perfect. I use them. I'm happy using them. I could use them all day. Last time I had this feeling for the pedals, any pedals like this, was Logitech G25, GT7 era. Those pedals were unbelievable. And there's never really been a wheelbase that's then matched those kind of pedals until now. And I would argue the MOZA R5 Wheelbase bundle, the pedals are literally amazing. Honestly, I love the pedals. I would literally use these with any other wheel quite happily, and no, I'm using a good pedal base there. Next up is actually, again, not to do with the wheel or the pedals this time. It's actually the software that MOZA uses and has delivered. Now, the actual software is called MOZA Pit House, which you can get on your PC. But I realize not everybody has a PC, and obviously, it's not fully officially supported on the PlayStation. There is a mobile app, which still means you can adjust the wheel however you like, okay? Now, I've used the PC software just a few times just to dial it in a little bit. I'll talk about that a little bit later on that side. However, it's the mobile app I really want to talk about, okay? This is amazing. Honestly, I've never had something like this before. It's awesome. I go in. So, you know, on the PlayStation, the rotation isn't automatically set. I'll get that onto that later on as well. So I go in there, go into the app. It instantly detects it via Bluetooth. I go into the wheel. I can change it. Within a nanosecond, it's updated, and I can use the wheel however I like. You know, you can change lots of different things in there. You can change it very quickly. You can change it while you're using the wheel as well. You know, on the fly. You could be in a race and change it on the fly. I've done that before now as well. Very, 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 very good mobile software, okay? I don't talk about mobile apps too often because I actually hate a lot of mobile apps because I think they suck and they're just half-heartedly done. Not in this situation. This is done very well indeed. Very well indeed. Now, when I originally went into, you know, plug in and play, which is the one thing I really focus on, the MOZA wheel didn't have a lot of force feedback. And I went into the app and adjusted it. And then it instantly adjusted straight away. I was like, wow, okay. I was not expecting that. I was expecting to maybe have to restart it or whatever. But no, the mobile app is superb. I highly recommend, if you are using this wheel, get the mobile app because it is a game changer. You know, if you're in the middle of a race and you need to change something, you can put your mobile on your lap, try and get into the app while you're racing and change it on the fly. I mean, that's unbelievable. You can't do that at all. Like, literally, with any other wheel I'm aware of. You have to go into the PC software to do it, which obviously means minimizing a game or unplugging it from a console and putting it in the PC. I love this app. It's amazing. Right, let's get talking back about the wheel then. And the wheel itself actually has a very decent amount of buttons. And I always comment on this on any wheel I look at, in the fact that I don't want to have to buy a button box. I just want a wheel that has enough buttons that I can use to play a game. Playing ACC, you need ignition, start engine, etc. There are more than enough buttons on this wheel to assign to whatever you like. So this wheel gets a big thumbs up for me with the amount of buttons. You do not need a button box, okay? You really do not need a button box. Now, I will put a caveat on this that the PlayStation is a bit more limited, but again, we're going to talk about that in the adapter section of this video, which you can see in the timestamp below. Next up, in terms of pros then, is the force feedback range. Now, the force feedback on this wheel can vary from being very light to very heavy, okay? Now, I'm currently using 90% in terms of what is in the mobile app. However, that's not everything, because of course your games can multiply this factor. So, you know, I was going on ACC and my gain is around 50%, I believe it is. So obviously I can increase that and make the wheel really heavy, really, really heavy. So if you do prefer that and you think you're like the next, you know, I don't even know, Mr. Olympia, for example, and you've got all the muscles in the world, maybe you want to do that. But I can set the wheel just fine with where it is. And it's got 5.5 Newton meters of torque. There are direct drive wheels out there with 20 Newton meters of torque. It doesn't really matter. 5.5 is more than enough. Do you know what I mean? So you can look at the more expensive wheels and go, oh yeah, I want that. Oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. I want that. More than enough in this one. Honestly, I love the force feedback range. I've got it set now. Absolutely bang on. I absolutely love where it's set up right now. I really do. It feels good. I can drive well with it. For the most part, obviously. we all make mistakes. And yeah, I'm just having good fun with the wheel. I really, really am. So yeah, very good force feedback. The next pro, yes, they're still coming, folks. The next pro, the desk clamp. Okay, so I don't talk about desk clamps too often because I don't really use them. However, I was sort of forced to use it in this scenario, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the cons section. However, I have to use the desk clamp, so I'm using the desk clamp right now, okay? And normally with desk clamps, they go loose. So ones I've used in the past have gone loose quite quickly. You know, after a couple of uses, they get a bit loose. You've got to tighten them up again. I've put this desk clamp on and it hasn't moved an inch. Literally, it's still solid there now. I'm going to go and just feel it. No, it's still, it's on. It hasn't moved. And remember, this is direct drive wheel, okay? So you're expecting the force feedback. If you're going a bit stronger, and I've set it up a bit stronger than my previous wheels, you expect it to start pulling and moving. It's solid. It's as solid as a rock, this desk clamp. It's a very good desk clamp. So if you have to use one, it works well. So happy days with that front. Another pro there with the desk clamp. Finally, and this isn't a pro for everybody, but I always see it as a pro because some wheels have this issue in the fact that the cables in the back of the wheel are very easily accessible. Now you're probably going, Tidge, why does that really matter? Well, occasionally your wheel may fail. This hasn't failed on me. Just putting that out there. Well, not failed intentionally anyway, and I'll talk about that in the notes section of this video. But occasionally a wheel may fail. It may lose USB connection. The wire may get like pulled out a little bit, whatever it may be. Now, some of them you have to physically take the wheel off your rig in order to access that, to put it back in, to put it back on. Oh no, not with this. Very easily accessible from the rear of the MOZA R5 Wheelbase there. Just plug in, plug out. It's all very easy to see and, you know, unplug, plug in, however you need to. So easily accessible cables is a winner. So from the pros then, we go to the cons or the negatives of the wheel. Now the first up, and this is always big for me, I've already mentioned it in the video, it's the pick up and play factor. You can't just pick up and play this wheel. You do have to set it up in some way to get a nice feeling out of it. A lot of the wheels I've used previously, you can plug in, play, and you're pretty much there or thereabouts. Maybe the slight bit of adjustment. This required a big adjustment for me, in my opinion. So yeah, the pick up and play factor, not really there. Once you set it up and it's working fine, yeah, it's great. But I like pick up and play. I like it in my games. I like it with the equipment I buy. Pick up and play gets you going initially, and then maybe slight tweaks, but you know, the get-go is already there. So that is something I would like to see improve potentially. Now, this both includes ATC and GT, and I mentioned GT. Yes, it's not officially compatible, but even with the adapter plugged in, I still have to make adjustments in the MOZA app in order to get it feeling good and okay. The adapter just tells the PlayStation something else. Of course, when I went to ATC, I then had to make further adjustments, which did help GT, to be fair, in terms of making it feel even better than it already did. But, you know, I still had to make those changes, whereas I just like to plug in, sit down, off I go. Very easy, very simple. Now this wheel, in terms of when it's just standing still, you're there, maybe you're at the grid, getting ready to go, but it likes to oscillate quite a lot, you know, the constant left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And I feel like that translates while you're driving as well. And I feel like it does it a little bit too much. Now, I could be being very nitpicky here. It could be just my experience of direct drive wheels, but I don't feel like it should be oscillating left and right, left and right, left and right constantly the way it does. Now, I have had a chance to adjust it and improve it, and I did that when I was on GT initially. It was doing it a lot, and I went to ATC, made some adjustments to make it feel good on ATC, and that actually helped with the oscillation and reduced it. Is there a way to reduce it? I don't know, and I don't know what settings would cause that to reduce without just messing about with it. And it'd be good if there was some instructions or help there that I could use to reduce that further, because it is one thing that is a little bit annoying when you're just there and it's going left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and it's constantly doing it. It's just a bit frustrating, really. And then when you're going on the straight, sometimes you're actually holding the wheel more in place. You're probably going to be like, yeah, it tastes like real life. But wheels don't oscillate quite as extreme as it is there. So, you know, and I have been on a racetrack in a race car. They don't do that. Certainly not to that extreme. So, yeah, I feel like it's a bit too much and something that does need changing, or at least give us an idea on how to change it in order to improve that experience. Now, I talked about the adjustability of the pedals, okay, and the fact that you've got all these dots there. You can screw them into each one of them across the pedal set so you can make fine adjustments. However, I couldn't set up the pedals how I wanted, so I've got them at the extreme far left for the brake and far right for the accelerator. And I had to do this because of the footplate on my rig and the way the screws actually go in order to support the pedals. If I had 3 pedals, then I could have put the brake where I wanted to and then had the clutch being one of the stability areas and the accelerator being the other. However, I didn't have this possibility, so I had to set the pedals at those extreme places for this footplate. Now, I don't know how you could solve this very easily, other than include the extra pedal, but it just meant that the adjustability that they've designed for in the pedal plate, I can't use. I'm literally set in stone with what I've got, so maybe it's there to fit all foot plates, essentially, so you can move them to adjust for foot plates. But I really don't like that. I really feel like there should be some additional way to screw the pedals in, maybe some more supports in the actual pedal base. I'm not too sure, because you essentially have 2 at the top and then 2 at the bottom, and that's it really, and then it's sort of like put into place, essentially. So I would have preferred the brake pedal to be close to the accelerator, because that's what I'm used to. However, I couldn't do that in this situation, so I was a bit limited in terms of my pedal setup. Let's talk about the wheelbase then, because I sort of mentioned the desk clamp earlier on and how much of a positive that is, but my original plan was not to use the desk clamp. I was just forced to in this situation. So the screws you get that you screw in, so I use that obviously to screw into the desk clamp, because it's 2 separate things, and it gives you that angle that you can get. However, literally, I originally tried, should I say, to screw the base straight into my actual base on the rig. Now, it lines up perfectly with the screw holes. I was like, excellent, this will work. However, the screws are just not long enough, okay? They're not long enough, so I couldn't do it, and I spent some time trying it. Wouldn't work. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go to, the desk clamp and give that a try. Now, it would be really good if we could get detailed information on the screws. Maybe actually give us longer screws, like a middle of the road sort of screw where we can clamp it directly to the desk. And then that would be better in my opinion, because again, I couldn't set the wheel up exactly how I wanted to at the time. And I do feel that's a negative, because people want to set it up how they want to set it up, not necessarily how the manufacturer wants to set it up. It is what it is, you know. I just couldn't do what I wanted to, and people have said it looks a bit high to me. I've got used to it, to be fair. It is in a nice angle as well, but even so, I want to set it up how I want to set it up. The final one, this is a biggie for a lot of the people who do watch the channel, of course, and that is the compatibility with the PlayStation. It's just not there. It's not there. You do need an adapter, and people constantly put comments on my video saying, how are you using the MOZA R5? Because it's not compatible with the PlayStation. I do use an adapter, and we do have an adapter section in this video to explain that adapter a bit more and how I'm using it, etc. The adapter is very good. I'm not saying it's not very good in the slightest, but if I didn't have the adapter, I couldn't use a wheel on the PlayStation, and then I'm kind of stuck, to be honest with you. And the only reason I accepted the review of the wheel was so that I could at least try it on the PlayStation with the adapter. So the fact that it's not fully compatible with the PlayStation is an issue, because you know, most people have a console and a PC. A lot of people will have a PlayStation and a PC. I am one of those people. There are many more out there in the same situation, because we do like Gran Turismo as well. You can't use it at the moment without that adapter, so that's something to keep in mind. Arguably, you can blame the hack in 2011 for all of this, because that's the reason why PlayStation brought in that increased security after the PSN hack, and yeah, they now have that security protocol, which is why everything is a bit more complicated in terms of getting wheels and everything compatible with a PlayStation. But yeah, you can use an adapter. It's just a negative in my opinion. It's not compatible, and you never know if something breaks with the wheel and it's not compatible. Could be a long old fix before you can use it again. So that's all the cons done. Let's talk about then the adapter. The adapter, which a lot of people are going to be interested in, as you saw in the previous con that we just looked at. So the Brook Resolution 2 is the adapter I am using, okay, and it is quite pricey, to be honest with you, £106, but we'll talk about price a little bit later on. However, I will say it works, and it works blimmin' well. It does work well. It's worked 99.9% of the time. There was only one time it didn't work, and let me explain what happened there, just so you've got a bit of information if you ever experience this same issue. Obviously, I'm venturing between the PlayStation and the PC with the wheel. Obviously, I'm plugging the wheel directly into the PC. When I do that, if there are any updates, the wheel will update, because it's got the cable in, it can update the firmware, as you would expect any hardware to do that. When I went back to the PlayStation, obviously I plugged it back into that adapter, and obviously there's been that firmware update wasn't then registering correctly with the adapter. Now, I didn't realize that at the time. I was like, why is the wheel crashing when I start racing? So I'd start racing, and then the wheel would just lock in place and crash. I was like, okay, that's a bit of a problem. In my head, instantly thought about, I plugged it into a PC. I updated the firmware on the Resolution 2, which is what you should do, and then it worked perfectly from there on. So obviously there's been an update. Now I'm going to talk about that update a bit more in a second. The wheel has then worked ever since, absolutely flawlessly. So again, I can't blame the adapter there. If the wheel gets updated, then you have to update the firmware on the adapter. This is what I'm talking about, where compatibility becomes an issue, where if a wheel isn't officially compatible, let's say a major change happens to the MOZA, the adapter then has to be updated as well. There's a time delay for that, and then it can be updated. So that is a significant problem with adapters and when it's not officially compatible, but it is what it is. Now, with this wheel, with the adapter, sorry, I had to manually adjust the rotation of the wheels on Gran Turismo cars. So if I was using GT3, for example, I'd have to set it to 540. And then for road cars and Group 4, it was 900 degrees. They were the two that I was mainly using. And it was really nice. I could do that in the mobile app, to be fair. I could do it quick as. And I would do that sometimes on the fly if I forgot to change it. I could do it quickly and then it auto-update. Absolutely fantastic. I've shown that in a couple of videos as well, but I've been in the cockpit camera trying to work that out. Since the update, however, of the firmware, I've not had to adjust the rotation anymore. It's like the adapter knows the rotation of the cars now in Gran Turismo. Now, I can't confirm whether that's the case or not. Maybe anybody else using the adapter can confirm this, but I can't find any notes on this either. But I don't have to set the rotation anymore. It's really odd. It now works fine in Gran Turismo in terms of I don't have to manually adjust it. I went back to the Porsche because I used a Porsche one time. Instantly works. Absolutely fine. So I'm very confused by that. I did show earlier on in this video me changing that rotation. You can see the impact of that. I can't show the steering wheel and the mobile at the same time because it uses the same cable to capture that footage. So you just have to believe me on that one. I was adjusting the wheel in the same manner, and that's what was happening in terms of that rotation. Now, there have been comments about input lag on the adapter that people experience. I can tell you now I've experienced zero input lag, or nothing that I can remotely feel, at least anyway. And then remember, I am using the wheel directly on ACC, so it goes directly into the PC. I only use the adapter for the PlayStation, and there is no difference at all there, really. There really is no difference. And again, when I've set up the wheel in ACC, so you remember I was talking about setting it up in ACC to make sure it works, and gone back to GT, those same settings apply to GT, even though it's going through an adapter, okay? The adapter basically makes the PlayStation think that it's a different wheel. In this case, it thinks it's a G29, and therefore the PlayStation goes, oh yeah, G29, I know how that works. We'll use it as G29. So all your options in Gran Turismo are based on the G29, so do keep that in mind as well. But yeah, there's no input lag there from what I can see. Some problems that I have experienced with this, if you are like me and you just leave things on, I do it all the time. Let's just say you switch the PlayStation on, the wheel won't recognize or won't be recognized in the adapter. I don't know why this is. So what I have to do is I have to switch the wheel off on the back. There's a button on the back, that's power off. And then I have to power it back on. Then the adapter works. Then it works on the PlayStation by pressing the PS button, which in this case is the radio button on the left-hand side. Another thing you can't do with this wheel, in terms of the adapter that I'm talking about here, you can't use a USB hub. So one thing that I've talked about in the past that I used to have is right next to the wheel, I have a USB hub. Basically, the wheel would go into there, and any USB adapters could go into there. I press a button, it goes to the PC. I press a button, it goes to the PlayStation. Very quick switch between PlayStation and PC. You see me do it on live stream multiple times. I press one button, and it flicks over. Absolutely great. The adapter does not work with that because the adapter is waiting for the wheel to talk to it. Now, if you've got a USB connection in there, it then starts to have issues. And I couldn't plug the adapter into the hub either because then it wasn't recognizing the PlayStation. Or that's what I felt anyway when I was using it, because it was looking for the PlayStation. So the adapter has to be plugged into the PlayStation directly, and the wheel has to be plugged directly into the adapter as well. If somebody's had different experiences of that, please let me know in the description. I'd love to try out that USB hub. But yeah, that's my problem with that. Also, the LED lights, I will get them right, for shifting, do not work with the adapter. That's something to note as well. And again, finally, the final thing with this, the buttons on the PlayStation with the adapter are very specific. There is literally they're literally mapped already, and you're just basically clicking the buttons that map. You can't use all the buttons on the wheel, and some of the buttons are mapped to the same button as if it was a G29. So, for example, if you press one button, it might be change camera, but you could press a different button on your wheel and it'd still be change camera. There is a full user map on the Brook Resolution website. You can check that out. Very detailed in terms of what maps to what. And they are very good. I've heard very good reviews and seen good reviews for Brook in terms of the resolution adapter. But again, it is limited in terms of the button mapping on Gran Turismo at the moment. Who knows in the future, obviously, if the wheel becomes officially supported, that will obviously disappear. But just to let you know on that front, I have managed to use it fine on Gran Turismo. You've seen that with all the videos. So it's just a FYI rather than it is what it is. Overall then, with the wheel, the LED lights on the wheel, I've not really talked about them. They work well on PC. I've had no issues with them at all. You can actually see that in some video in the background. One thing I have talked about on other wheels in the past is the stitching being on the inside of the wheel. As you know, with the TGT that I've used in the past, that comes away very easily. The Fanatec CSL Elite that I used, that had it on the inside. That didn't come away. It was just very spiky and just made an indent on my thumb. The stitching on this is on the inside of the wheel again, so it is a bit of a concern for me. However, no issue so far. Works absolutely fine. I've had no spiky bits into my thumb. It's been very good. It's holding up very nicely. But just a bit of information there. When my wheel started, or I initially started the wheel for the first time, I did have to recalibrate it because the wheel started upside down for whatever reason. That could be due to their testing that they do. You may have noticed some of the stickers on some of the footage where it says they do internal testing on this. There was no scratches, even though it says there could be scratches there. And as I say, the wheels work fine. It does have a quick release system. There are accessories to this wheel as well. I did get sent some, but this is for the wheelbase bundle. I'm just looking at it from that perspective. The accessories look quite cheap, actually. If you compare to Fanatec, when you change a rim, etc., it looks like very similar to more of the bottom end of the wheels. You can take off the inners of the wheel and then you attach the frame to it, and that's what you can do here in terms of that, because I do have a Formula rim that they have sent me as well. Finally, let's talk about pricing. So this wheel, the MOZA R5 Wheelbase bundle, I can see it at £499 right now from Overclockers UK, which is a company I have been a part of a championship with them as well, actually. They're very, 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 what's the word? Credible. And credible is the word I'm looking for. A very credible source in terms of hardware there. So $499, very, very good price in my opinion. Of course, you've got to include the adapter, so that does put it up to £605. In terms of price, if you're not going to include the adapter, that's around $636 or 577 euros, or with the adapter, $771 and 699 euros. Now let's have a look at some of the competitors, because this is where it gets interesting. Okay, it's TGT2, currently around £700, which is expensive in my opinion for that wheel. That is not direct drive. Go a bit cheaper then, you got the T300 RS and the Logitech G923. They're $370 and $290 respectively. And then of course the direct competitor for this wheel, I'd argue, is the Fanatec Gran Turismo Direct Drive Pro wheel, if you're using it on the PlayStation, in terms of what we are using it for, okay? There are other people, and there are cheaper direct drive wheels out there from Fanatec that are PC and Xbox only, but I'm looking at this from a Gran Turismo player and from a PC player if I was doing them both. So the direct competitor for me is the Fanatec Gran Turismo Direct Drive Pro 5 Nm of torque wheel. Now, the Fanatec pricing is blimmin' awkward to understand, and I still don't fully understand it personally. They really need to improve their website. But I've got it at €700 plus delivery, okay? Which actually, with the adapter for the MOZA, is the exact same price. But the MOZA is free delivery, where this isn't, okay? So it is cheaper, the MOZA R5 wheel. Again, it's very confusing. You may have to pay additional import fees for the Fanatec, where you don't for the MOZA. So, yes, the MOZA is slightly cheaper than that Fanatec Gran Turismo wheel. And that's where we're going to leave it there in terms of the pricing. Now, in terms of recommendations, in terms of price range, of course, I've always said this, like, go for the Logitech wheel as the beginner wheel. It's always cheaper. It goes as low as £160. It did very recently with Prime Day. So it's always one to look at if you want to start using a wheel for the first time. If you're going to jump straight into it, then you're looking at the £500 price range, and well, 400 to 500, I'd say. Then you start looking at this wheel, and that's where it is. You've got beginner wheels, you know, set off. I always say the G923, G29, that sort of area. That's your beginner wheel. We're sort of in the middle area here. This is the core area where, if you're going to get serious, but you don't have a lot of money, this is where you're going to sit. You know, the TGTs, the T300s, and that sort of area, the Fanatec wheel as well. Then you obviously go to the super expensive wheels then, which are like £1,000 plus, which I'm not really that interested in personally, because this is where the ballpark figure is really. You're not going to get that much more for your money in terms of experience, but you're going to spend a lot more money if you go for those expensive wheels. So let's jump to that summary then. So in summary, would I recommend this wheel? The PC? Absolutely yes. Brilliant wheel. I've used it. I've used it on ATC, absolutely fine. And if I had to continue using it, I'd have no problems using it. I've had no reliability issues at all. I've been using it for 4, 5, 6 weeks. No problems whatsoever on the PC. Every time I plug it in, it just instantly starts, instantly plays, and happy days. You can go racing. No problems whatsoever. So absolutely yes, if on the PC. Now, here's where it gets tricky. So if you've got a PlayStation and a PC, would I recommend it? And I've got to be honest, no. And the reason I've got to say no is because of the compatibility issues. We need to get the compatibility issues sorted for the wheel. Now, if it was compatible with the PlayStation, yes, I'd be like, go buy it now. It's a brilliant wheel. But if there is a problem with the adapter suddenly, you can't use the wheel on the PlayStation. And remember, that adapter is still third party. so it's not supported, so you can't use it. So then you would need 2 wheels, and 2 wheels is not recommended for anyone, in my opinion. It's just a waste of money. So if you've got a PlayStation and a PC, no, I would not recommend this. If you've got a PC, yes, I would recommend this. It's a really good wheel. I highly recommend it. And yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. Now, I did put 2 notes to them. Okay, I did put 2 questions to them. And in terms of the responses, I'm going to give you them now. But in the questions I gave to Moza, the first one was about PlayStation compatibility. They said they are continuing to work to get it done, essentially, and they can't give any ETAs on that, which is understandable, because if you give you an ETA, then everyone expects that ETA to come. Maybe they miss it, maybe Sony miss it, maybe whoever misses it, and then suddenly everyone starts complaining. Completely understandable. They did say they are working on it, though, so it is what it is. It's there and there at the moment. In terms of the desk clamp, I did put a question about the desk clamp in terms of the fact that I would love longer bolts to be fitted in if I wanted to fit it directly. They said they'd take it into consideration for direct clamping to the rig, essentially, there. So there's good feedback from them. They're going to take stuff into consideration. I always put feedback to companies as well when I review their products, just because if I do find something, I'd like to let them know, because it may be useful in the future. And yeah, that is it in terms of this video. If you did like it, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, stay in touch with all the latest content. A big thank you for Moza for sending it out and for allowing me to review the wheel. I do appreciate that, because obviously it's at their expense and I can say whatever I like because it's my honest opinion and honest review. So I do appreciate that they have a confidence in their product, let's put it that way. And it is a good product, as I say. Again, big thank you again, and I do hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.